Good morning, and welcome to Daylight with Dean, number 103 on July 23rd, 2020. Really grateful to be here with you this morning. Want to make sure that my volume is not malfunctioning. I understand it may be a little strong for some of you, but I have so many people indicating that it's hard for them to hear on their cell phones, so I am recording at nearly full volume this morning. So if it's a little hot for you on your phone or computer, I'd like to invite you to just turn it down just a little bit. But before all of that, I want to begin with my great cup of coffee this morning. Now you might be saying, wait, Dean, is that a different mug than you've ever used here on Daylight? Just want to let you know, yes, it is. This mug is a advertisement adversarial. It's a advertisement mug. I don't know quite how to say it. And it's one of my all-time favorites because as a little kid, my uncle worked and represented this company and the electronic equipment. And I remember this mug in our house in the early 70s. And every time we'd go to my uncle's house in Williamsburg, he'd have this logoed BCS company mug on it, and he'd have mugs, he'd have pens, and so I've always, you know how your uncle, you really are fascinated by your uncles, and I was just always fascinated by this mug for some reason. And I was noticed up at our camp up at Whitehall, at our church camp in Emlenton, that this mug was just always up there. And every time I would go up to camp in the summertime as an adult, I would see this mug and it would just bring me great joy. And about 2 years ago, I thought, well, why do I keep this mug up at camp and see it once a year if it brings me great joy? Why don't I bring it home and use it shamelessly? And so I've brought it home. There's only one problem with this mug and coffee. Can you guess what it is? Yes, it's about the size of a shot glass. So it doesn't hold the volume of coffee that I like. However, my daughter loves this mug, and this mug gets used all the time. And so, Uncle Ken, thank you so much for working for BCS. It's kind of got the retro look to it, and this is my one of my favorite mugs to see in the morning. It brings me great joy. So yesterday, my son had a dentist appointment with our lifelong family dentist in Greensburg, and so you know what a trip to Greensburg means, right? It means a trip to DeLello's. So yesterday's trip to DeLello's yielded a beautiful loaf of DeLello bread. You can see it sitting over there. Oh, wait, you can't see it? Okay, I'll show it to you closer. It's their Talonica bread. Talonica, Talonica bread, and it is just magnificent. I mean, where do you get bread that looks like this? It has a texture to it that's amazing and brings great joy to our house. Something new I learned yesterday is that you can have it sliced because we're always challenged to slice it well. And so that loaf there, I handed it to the person and they took it and ran it through their slicer, and it was like very, very exciting. And I know that we have joked around in the past because I've been open with you about my failure to be a good gift giver. Somehow I just miss those cues as far as what would be a great gift. However, as you know, Leslie has been helping me out lately. A couple weeks ago, she said she wanted the Black & Decker battery operated leaf blower, and so I bought it for her, and she loved it. We talked about that the other day. Well, she made pasta last week. I shared that. And afterwards, she sent me an image of a pasta maker that she said, "You can buy this for me." And so when I was at DeLello's, they had the same type of pasta maker that she had indicated that she was interested in. And its brand name is Imperia. And the fact that I bought it at a Italian store, and I haven't looked at it, but Leslie said it was made in Italy, so I have to assume it was not made in China and made in Italy. And the fact, it weighs about 5 pounds. It's very heavy. And the fact that it had a $50 price tag on it, I lost my mind. I'm like, I have to buy this for her. And so when I came home, I brought in the 2 bags of stuff from DeLello's. And then I said, "Oh, wait. I have one more bag in." So I went and got it, and she met me outside with it. She's like, "What's in that bag?" I said, "Well, do you remember last week when I gave my son-in-law his Father's Day gift, and he about lost his mind with excitement?" I said, "Well, this gift is for you, and I'm anticipating a similar type of response." And she goes, "Oh, you're putting so much pressure on. Now I have to pretend. If I'm not excited, I have to pretend because you expect, I said, "No, I think we're okay." Well, she closed her eyes. I opened the bag up. She opened her eyes. She could see it. I lifted it out, and she was excited. She was genuinely excited. So, I appreciate all the help on the specific gifts that my family would like to have, because it makes my job so much easier. The problem is when they need a gift and I have no clue and they've given me no heads up. That's where we get in trouble. So yesterday evening, Leslie made dinner, but I was having a conversation with my 2 children, and it was a very important conversation. So she knew that we were in the middle of that, and so she went ahead and ate. And then when we were done, my daughter and I, we decided to go on the back porch and eat our dinner. And it's coming up on dusk. And we're sitting there eating our dinner. We finished our dinner, and we're having a delightful conversation. It's, I don't know, probably 8:45, probably 8:45 or so, about this time, maybe closer to 9. We're having this conversation, and we have a deck on our backyard and in the back of our house, and we have a table and our lawn chairs we're sitting in. We just finished eating, and we're having a nice conversation. And I kid you not, out of the left corner of my eye, I looked, and there was literally a 6-foot-long black snake coming towards us. Now, this black snake was not in attack mode, but this black snake was within 3 feet of us. And now, I've told the stories. I love snakes. Snakes don't freak me out. They don't scare me. They don't bother me at all. This one startled me so much, looking down and seeing this, probably the biggest black snake I've ever seen, personally. Seeing this snake coming right toward my daughter and I'm like, Abby. And I said, I gotta get the snake. And so I jumped into full capture mode. Well, my daughter, I did not know that snakes are one of the most terrifying things to her in her life. And so she went into full scream my head off mode. So Abby sitting on her chair, all curled up, screaming at the top of her lungs, crying. It felt like a movie scene out of Anaconda. I'm wrestling with this snake because it's moving. I'm used to catching snakes that are sunning or laying out, and I have time to get a stick that I can press the top part of its head down or at the top part of its neck, and then bring my hand up and pinch it right behind the head and hold on to it so it can't bite me, because the rest of what's going on with the rest of its body isn't dangerous. It's just, but it's a black snake. It's not venomous. It doesn't have teeth, it doesn't have fangs, but I'm freaking out in my spirit because this snake sneaked up on us. So we had a little metal S hook that we used to hold the porch door open going into the back of our house. So I grabbed that and I'm trying to pin its head down with it, but it's not strong enough to hold it, and this snake is now moving all around. And it's starting to get away. So I grab it by the tail and it turns back around and comes after me, and I fling it across the deck. Well, now it's leaning up against this edge of the deck that has a gap in it and can slither away, and I don't want this snake on my property. So I lunge after it. Now I'm in my shorts and t-shirt. I lunge after it and go get it, and I grab it again by the back of its tail to kind of get it in a place it's not going to go away. And I'm lifting it, and and the entire time Abby is tortured with fear, screaming, to the point that my son, who's playing basketball behind the house with his headphones on, comes running up to see what's going on. My daughter, Emma Ruby, who's upstairs in her room, comes from the third floor all the way down to see what's going on. My wife, who's in the sunroom, several shut doors away, she comes to see what's going on. By the time they get there, I have found a broomstick on our back porch. I push it down against the top of the neck of the snake. I grab it, and I have it, and I'm sitting there on the deck as this thing wraps itself all around my arm. It's over 6 feet long, and my heart is racing about 1,000 miles an hour. And Abby, my poor daughter, is still tortured with fear. And Leslie's like, get it out of here, get it out of here. So I'm like, I'm going to do that. Just let me catch my composure, because I'm a mess. I've never had a snake startle me so bad in my life. And so my knees are all scuffed up. My hands were all filthy from just wrestling this thing, getting all over my deck, and it was something. Well, now I have this snake, and I have to go take it down to the creek about a mile from my house, where I've let the other two go that I've caught this summer. So I have to get the key. Well, I go to the other back door of my house, right where my key is, and I have to go inside. Well, I have the snake in my hand. So I open the door, and my wife's like, what are you doing? You can't bring that in here. I'm like, I'm just getting the key. I'm just getting the key. So I got my key, started my vehicle, put the window down, put my arm out through the window, closed the door, and drove for over a mile with the snake wrapped around my arm while holding it at the base of its head, at the top of its neck, so that it would not bite me. And you should see when I pulled up to a stop sign and there's a mom with her two young children walking by. By now it's 10 minutes after 9, but we're in town, so it's still pretty well lit. And the little girl's looking at the snake, and then they walk past my line of vision, and I'm sitting at the stoplight, and this lady, I hear them talking, and I turn around, and they're like, "Is that a snake? Is that a snake?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is." So the light turns green, and I drive past, and we have a young man in our church that is fond of snakes, and his mother told me that he wanted to have a conversation with me. And so I thought, well, this is a great time to reach out to him. So on the way down the hill, I said, "Hey, I'm coming by your house. I have a snake that I'm going to go put in the creek. Do you want to see it?" And they said, "Yeah." So I stopped by, showed it to him, and I said, "Well, do you want to go with me to put the snake in the creek?" And he's like, "Yes." So he rode with me, and I said to him, "So your mother told me that I needed to have a conversation with you." And he said, "Oh yeah." The long and the short of it is, he basically said, during this whole stay at home and pandemic thing, he said, I asked Jesus to come into my life. I prayed and asked him to forgive me of my sins, and I committed my life to Christ. And now I'd like to get baptized. And I'm like, I mean, that is the best news you can hear from someone. And so I was so grateful to hear that from him and celebrate that with him. I did not baptize him in the creek right in that moment with the snake that I was letting go. I said, we'll check in with your parents and find out, when you guys want to do this, and we'll go from there. But I was so proud of him and so excited. So after we stopped, it took me quite some time to get this 6-foot snake off my arm. Once I got it off, I tossed it in the creek, and it was so happy. And I was so relieved. And so then I came home. On the way to get rid of the snake, I called my friend who's an exterminator, who's treated mosquitoes at our place and helped us with a bunch of stuff over the years. I called him in a panic, and he didn't answer my phone. I called him twice, and because I wanted to make sure if I took the snake a mile from my house that it wasn't going to find its way back up to my house. Because I don't know if snakes are like, homing pigeons or, messenger doves, if they have tracking device built into them and they return back to the scene. So he finally called me back that evening, and I said, "Okay, we got to talk." And so I described the whole situation, and the first thing he said is, "Well, you have to be careful, because although black snakes are not poisonous in and of themselves, sometimes they mate with copperheads and then they become venomous." And here I am my whole life not afraid of black snakes. And I said, "Well, do they look like copperheads when that happens, or do they look like black snakes?" He goes, "No, when they mate with copperheads, their offspring resemble copperheads more than black snakes." I said, "So they have the the triangular head, and it's not the oval head." Yeah, the venomous half copperhead, half black snakes have the triangle head, and the pattern on their skin is interlocking and all this stuff. And I said, well, this was definitely a run-of-the-mill 6-foot-long black snake with an oval head. So that put my mind at ease. So then we talked about, does this mean there are tons more at my house? Does this mean that there are, I'm getting all of this information. So he taught me how to create a spray with water and garlic powder that snakes hate the smell of. And if you spray under the deck quite a bit and then around the perimeter of my property, he said the snakes will leave. So I just added another project to my list. Oh, if you're thinking, I can't believe what transpires in your life, I have to tell you that sometimes I can't either. And if you think, I can't believe the things you tell us about, you would be even more surprised of the things that I do not tell you about. The things that are of a confidential nature, the things that my family would highly frown upon if I shared in a public setting like this. So, yes, I too agree. What is going on? Wow. Well, that got me all worked up talking about that. So, I don't have any real big moral lesson about today. I don't have anything about enjoying the process as opposed to the success. I just have embrace the adventure that comes your way. So when I got home, I apologized to Abby about the snake. And she was like, Dad, it wasn't your fault. You were doing your best to protect us from the snake. She goes, you just have to know, snakes are like my most frightening thing in my entire life. And I said, well, I'm glad you're okay. So for whatever adventure awaits you this morning, I hope that you will be safe in it, and that you will navigate it, and that you will embrace it fully. For those of you that have noticed, it was quite a bit darker this morning than normal. Two things. It was thundering when I came on this morning, so we have, very overcast storms, rain, some in the morning, which is delightful for those of us in Western PA, because we've had so little rain until this past week. We've had some sweet, sweet, sweet heavy rain this week. But also, my son wanted to know when I film daylight. And I said, well, it's a little bit later each morning. And he said, well, how long do you film it for? I said, well, I film it for 20 minutes. He goes, 20 minutes? I didn't know it was that long. And I said, well, would you like me to film daylight and be done before you come down? And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, okay. I said, so what time do you want me to be done? And he was real hesitant. I said, just tell me what time you'd like me to be done. And he said, well, 10 after 6 is when I come down. I said, okay, I will go on early this morning. So that would have meant I came on at 5:50. I waited till 5:55, and now it's 6:20. So I still went long. So let me pray and hope that you have a great day. Father, I thank you so much that we get to share this time together and start our day thinking about you, inviting you to be part of our day. And now, Lord, I pray that you would keep us safe and protect us in our adventures today. And may we embrace this gift of life in all of its fullness in this moment and throughout our day today. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's daylight may be mobile. I'm not quite sure. All right. See ya.